This is probably the weirdest looking handlebar I've ever seen, and definitely the weirdest looking handlebar I've ever tested. This is the Surly Moloko handlebar, and it's a very popular handlebar for bike touring and biking adventures, but I was really interested to find out if it is a good one for commuting as well. As a bike commuter, I'm always on the hunt for products that make bike commuting more comfortable, more fun, and just a better experience overall, which is why I try out things like this handlebar or bar end grips or even folding bikes. And if you are into that kind of stuff, then join me on this journey and hit the subscribe button. Now, when I first saw the Moloko Bar, I was really intrigued by its design, and I went on YouTube and I did some research. I wanted to find out what people used it for, and I could find nobody who used it for commuting. So I said, okay, I'm going to be the one who buys it and I'm going to test it, because I wanted to find out how it actually works in an urban environment. So I went ahead and I purchased one, and my first surprise was when I received it. I knew that it was going to be wide and I knew that it was going to be heavy, but I didn't expect it to be this wide and this heavy in real life. In fact, when I wanted to put it on my main commuter bike, it's a Merida Speeder, essentially a road bike with a flat handlebar, also called a fitness bike, I couldn't put it on because the cables were not long enough. And when I put on my brake levers and my shifters, I couldn't screw the handlebar onto the stem without replacing the cables. And because I didn't know if it was going to be a permanent conversion or just something that was going to stay for a few days, I said, well, I'm going to try it on a different bike. So I found this other bike, which is a trekking bike with a front suspension, which had cables that were long enough, and that was the most important thing, that the cables were long enough, so I was able to put the Moloko Bar on without any problems. Now, this bike originally came with this handlebar, which has a slight rise and a slight sweep. So it offered a really nice, comfortable upright riding position. I knew I was going to miss that because the Moloko Bar has no rise at all. It's flat. It has a sweep, a 35-degree sweep, but it's completely flat. So I had to find a way to counter this. So what I did was I put it on an adjustable stem and I tilted the stem completely up as much as I could. And this way, the bike offers me more or less the same nice upright riding position. Now, I have commuted with the Moloko Bar a few times, and I have used it to run some errands, and I also went and I did some weekend riding with it. And here are some things that I really love about it, and some of the things that I'm not very fond of. First thing that I really like is the amount of hand positions that I get. I have essentially 5 hand positions. I have this main position at the end of the grip. I have a second position closer to the horn. I have a third position riding on the horns. I can grab the crossbar here in the top, or I can grab the inner loop, which is a 5th position. I also love just how much real estate there is on this handlebar. I mean, look at this. I can put my bike computer on it, I can put my lights on it, I can put a handlebar bag on it, I can put a bell on it, I can put even a camera mount on it, and I still have several hand positions. I never had this much real estate on my flat handlebar. In fact, even just to get a second or a third hand position, I had to add bar end grips, and I used the Ergon GP bar end grips, several of them. I used the GP2, the GP3, the GP4, and even the GP5, and they're all great, but what they don't offer me is extra real estate for an extra handlebar bag, for example. That is not a problem with a Moloko Bar. I also love how much control I get over the bike by grabbing the end of the grips. I could be riding really slow and on very technical terrain, and I have perfect control over where the bike is going. I also love that 35-degree sweep, which puts my hands in a very neutral position. In fact, if the handlebar didn't offer any more hand positions, just that one, that 35-degree sweep, it would be more comfortable than the flat handlebar. So I can ride for 30 minutes easily without feeling the need to change my hand positions. Now let's get to the things that I don't love so much and I don't find too practical. First of all, as I said, it's a very heavy handlebar and it's a very wide handlebar. Now the width is the real problem here, because if you are a city commuter, then you have to weave through traffic and sometimes you have to pass through tight spaces and you have to be very careful not to hit cars or rear view mirrors or pedestrians or buildings. It's something that you have to be always cautious of. Another thing that I found weird was that when I ride in the horns, I have a lot of handlebar hanging out on either side. And because it's such a heavy handlebar, if I go at slower speeds, you just feel less control over the bicycle. Also, if I ride in any other position than holding on to the end of the grips, I have no access to the shifters or the brakes. Therefore, I need to change my hand position and even sometimes my body position depending on where my hands are, and that can take some time. So my reaction time is a lot slower. So if you go in the city, it's always more practical to ride with your hands close to the shifters and the brakes. And the last thing that I don't love so much is that you probably still haven't hit the like button so far. But joking aside, the last thing that I find quite frustrating at times is that because of the width and the weight, it's quite hard to balance the bicycle against the wall or the rack that you're trying to lock it to. And sometimes as a bike commuter, it's hard enough to find a place to lock up your bike, and this just adds another layer of difficulty. In fact, on a few occasions, I found the bicycle tipped over when I came out of the shop. Now, don't get me wrong, this is still a great handlebar and there is so much to love about it. But if you're an urban commuter, this is probably not the most practical handlebar that you can get. If you're looking to add additional hand positions to your bicycle which has a flat handlebar, then you should probably look into Bar End Grips. In fact, I made a comparison video where I show the entire Ergon GP lineup, which I'm going to link up here in the cards. And if you want to add some more real estate for bike computers, bells, lights, or a handlebar bag, then you can add a handlebar extension. I picked one up here at my local bike shop for very cheap. I'm going to include one in the description as well, and that is going to solve that problem. Thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care, pedal on, bye bye.